Today I wanted to talk about our scholars. As you very well know, Kenya has very, very many universities. And one of the peculiarities of our intellectuals is that they come up with nothing. When you look at the patents filed from Kenya as compared with other countries, they're minuscule, almost non-existent. So we go from year to year with no innovation, no problem resolution on a technical level at all. And the funny thing is that every year there are more and more universities being opened, and all these universities have faculty. They have engineering faculties, they have all sorts of faculties. Yet the scholars resolve no practical problems in Kenya, none whatsoever. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the culture and the mentality of African scholars. Now, when you look at the number of PhDs that we have in Kenya, there are very many. So presumably these are supposed to be intelligent people. But some of these intelligent people can never invent anything at all, cannot improve a process, cannot come up with a new process. Yet they are PhDs. Now, when you look at all the people who try to invent things in Kenya, usually it's someone in the middle of nowhere, an ordinary Kenyan with no degree, who is innovating and building things. And you will see all these Kenyans coming up with all these things. Yet, none of them are faculty in the universities. For example, I saw this guy and I was actually very impressed. Like, he manufactures on his own, he figured out how to do it, film making equipment. From scratch, he designs it and builds it. Like he's doing, fabrication and engineering. From design to the actual prototype to mass production. So he's doing very many roles, and he's not a PhD. And we have PhDs in all these universities teaching in the faculty of engineering, but they can never innovate or invent anything. So how do you explain that? How do you explain having engineers who don't engineer? What's the point of the engineering degree? And I always wonder, what do they do the entire day, the whole day? You who is a scholar, you who is a PhD in engineering and I don't know all these fancy things you go to study. What do you do the whole day? Because you invent nothing. You come up with nothing. What good are you in the country? And I even saw that there was this student, a foreign student, who had come up with a straw that allows you to drink directly from a river. And as he explained, he said he was watching a documentary about Africa, and he saw that people were drinking directly from rivers and ponds, and that would give them cholera and all sorts of, diseases. So he thought, what if you had a straw that had a filter on the inside of it that you could distribute cheaply to poor villages and allow them to drink directly from the rivers and the lakes without getting sick? And so he invented one. So how do you explain the fact that we have universities, professors with PhDs in medicine, engineering, all sorts of fancy things, and none of them could invent this straw? Does that mean that they are low IQ? So is it possible to be a PhD but you have low IQ? Because they come up with nothing. So how do you explain that? That a foreign student is able to invent something who's like 20 years old, and a whole professor is unable to invent even the simplest implement to resolve problems in his country? How do you explain that? Because these are the questions that bother me the whole day. And then I saw another young person in Kenya. I think there were two of them, I can't remember. But they had invented some kind of robotic arm. I think it works by thinking. You think it, and then the hand moves. Like it's a hand. You think the thought, and your thoughts makes the hand to move. They had like a brain interface with that hand. Very interesting invention. And I thought to myself, these two young men are not university professors. They are not teaching faculty in any university. How have they been able to invent this robotic arm, yet universities professors in Kenya haven't been able to? How can it be that it is the faculties in universities that are completely useless? How do you explain that? How do you explain that none of these universities have a research and development arm that they can routinely absorb such people? All those people should not be struggling for resources. There should be a process to regularly absorb them into universities' research and development arms, because they've clearly shown an aptitude for coming up with clever things that are useful, that can be mass manufactured and sold. Now, this may perplex you until you understand the government of Kenya policy. And the policy in Kenya is very simple: deindustrialization. The policy is to oppose and frustrate any effort at industrializing the economy. Why? Because there is a global division of labor. If you didn't know that, whereby Africa is supposed to produce raw materials, never finished products. You're not meant to make cars, to make motorcycles, or cell phones, or TVs, or fridges, or microwaves, or anything, or military weapons, or aeroplanes, or nuclear bombs. Such things belong to non-Africans. Africans are supposed to focus on producing coffee, cocoa, digging up raw ore, and giving it to foreigners. That's your role. You're not meant to do value addition. You're not meant to control the process both upstream and downstream. That's not your job. Your job is to be the end consumer of foreign manufacturers. You're never meant to manufacture. And the government of Kenya is a signatory to this agreement. You think it's a joke? They are a signatory. They also signed an agreement that says that Africans are not allowed to have nuclear bombs. Now, why would you sign such an agreement? To please them Zungu. So the global division of labor allocates Africa no manufacturing. And so it is deliberate policy why there is no research and development arm in any of these universities. In other universities abroad where systems are not skewed, they work normally, you'll normally find the research and development arm of that university is linked to manufacturers, so that when you invent a new process, it can be manufactured. Or even manufacturers come to you and tell you, look, we're having a technical problem with this product. Can you come up with solutions? And they collaborate and they come up with a solution. That never happens in Kenya. Why? The university doesn't have any research and development, and there's no manufacturing sector. And the petty manufacturing that occurs in countries like Kenya is producing marmalade and margarine and such useless products. And those companies that produce these products, like soap, are foreign companies, and they work with foreign universities to improve their products. They never work with local universities because they are not local companies. There are no local companies manufacturing anything in Kenya. None. This is the reality of a third world country, and it is self-inflicted. The total refusal to manufacture anything is self-inflicted. And so that's the situation. So all these young men who invent all these clever things, they go nowhere, because you need to be able to mass produce that product and sell it everywhere. Patent it and sell it everywhere. But there's no factory to produce it. Do you understand? Even development labs are very difficult to come by in Kenya. You know, you need that place whereby you have your concept and you need proof of concept, like you need to work on the prototype. And many of these inventors are not rich, so they really need some help, some kind of system whereby you come up with a concept. If it's viable, you go to that lab and they produce the initial prototypes, and then they play with it, until they get it right, and then they mass manufacture and sell it. That sector doesn't exist. The process doesn't exist, and this is through deliberate policy of the government of Kenya. It's deliberate policy. This is not a mistake. You understand? We have a Ministry of Industrialization. Can you imagine? There's an entire ministry, there's people being paid to industrialize the country. They do nothing the whole day. This is the reality of third world countries. Why? Because the policy is deindustrialization. These are things that can be done very cheaply and very quickly. The innovation is there, the innovators are there, the inventions are there, the ideas are there, the market is there. But the market has been given to foreigners, only for the benefit of foreigners. If the government is giving out contracts, they would never give contracts to these local innovators. Never. The contract goes straight to foreigners, immediately, with no exception, at all times. Why? Because the elite rules Kenya to the benefit of foreigners and to the detriment of Kenyans. Yet what is bizarre is that Kenyans keep on voting for the same people over and over and over again. So that the situation is truly hopeless. So how do you change it? Unless you get rid of this elite, how do you change the situation? You can never change it with the same people. And Kenyans will never vote for different people. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Kenya's time has come. Our time has come. Your time has come. A time to succeed and not fail. A time to grow wealth and not poverty. A time to go up and not down. It's time for you to stop walking and drive your car. Stop renting and buy yourself a house. It's your time to get blessed. Join the CCV movement and together let us kick poverty and unemployment out of Kenya. Become a member today. Donate what you can. And remember that the CCV is the only political organization in Kenya that is squarely built upon Christian values, unlike the rest. We'll see you next time. Thank you.